Hey everybody, how you doing today? Thought I would show you another update on this Bird of Prey style CV, and it is coming along pretty decently. Now I've got another version beyond this one yet to show you, but this one was heavily updated from the last time I showed this creation. Made a bunch of changes to it on the body. I did get rid of some launchers I had in the center section, and instead it's got some turrets there. I got some retracted right now. And then I put those launchers over on the sides and these little housings kind of stuck on to the angled area there. Um, and then I worked quite a bit on the wings. And well, the whole bottom side actually. So the wings are looking like this now. I did make the wings bigger than what they were before, or wider, I should say. So they are. If you take a look at the top profile of the ship right now, it's looking about like this. Um, so yeah, it is coming along. Now with thrusters and things like that, I've been making some changes. And I got this idea, and I'm kind of curious on your opinion on this too. Like originally intended, I was gonna put four forward thrusts or of these XL forward thrusters on here and four lift thrusters. But when I was working on the front here, what I ended up doing is I recessed the reverse thrusters back in here so I could build this, I guess, cage around it. Here, I can get that light off for right now. Um, and in process of that, I ended up removing one of the lift thrusters. And then for forward thrust, I decided to put a couple big thrusters kind of on the back of this rounded housing area on the top section right here, which I thought looked kind of neat. Keep in mind, like the a bird of prey in the shows and movies or whatever, they don't have big like jet thrusters on them like what Imperium needs to function. So I'm mostly trying to keep them pretty not super visible, but these I thought actually look kind of good where they are on the back. Now, keep in mind that is two forward thrusters less than I was kind of planning on, and two lift thrusters less than I was planning on. Now I could put these back in place, find a particular way. I could even maybe dump another forward thruster, kind of like angled right below this one. I could also sneak in some more lift thrusters, but I'm trying to keep the CPU a little bit lower and not having four big Excel thrusters on here at 110 CPU a piece will help lower the CPU a little bit. So my plans to compensate for that would be to um, try to make the hull a little lighter. Um, First off, there's a comment definitely suggesting to transfer these wings into carbon substrate. I do plan on doing that. It's going to be part of it. It's not protecting anything over here. Um, so that is a certain possibility there. Another possibility would be to convert the hull to steel. Now, keep in mind, in areas I want to protect more, it'll still have Xeno backing behind that steel. But if the entire hull was steel, that would be again a weight reduction. Um, and then I think it could probably move pretty good. Now, right now, it does move good even in its current form here, and this is basically matching the thrust. So you got two XL thrusters per direction, and it's matched. So two down, two up, two forward, two back, and two left and two right. So it's kind of nice for space combat that way. Every direction you go is going to be kind of matched on your speeds, which is kind of neat. Now, the part I'm excited about most, though, is actually the bottom side. Believe it or not, I'm really happy with the how the block work came out. It's not fully done in this version here, but you can kind of see what that's looking like. And there's another big thing I want to talk about too, and it has to do with the color tones or the intensity of the colors that I use on the ship. Um, like right now, I've got it kind of a gray box form. So it's not pure white here, but it is gray and it is light enough so where when you're in space, you can actually see the polygons and the block work on the bottom of the ship. If I go a little bit darker than this, it all turns to black basically, where you can't see nothing. And I can kind of show you an example of that in a little bit here. Now, also on part of the wings here too, I was working on the bottom side of the wings, and I built these uh, kind of like hanging launcher things on the sides. And I noticed that some Klingon bird of preys had essentially like some kind of weapon assembly that was usually mounted to the wings, not part of the wings. So that's what I was trying to do here. And this is like version 1.0. It's I don't mind it though. I think for the most part it fits all right. And I sort of threw in some Wi-Fi here because it was just like this open block, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be a good place for some Wi-Fi. So I just dumped that in there for the heck of it. Now, but yeah, overall, I'm really liking the bottom side. It's again trying to do some of the stuff that the Proxima was doing. I'm trying to keep like big big areas, not chopping into them too much, but I did want some detail. So I do have like some like body line kind of things going on, but I'm trying to get these big, bulky, roundy pieces in here in many places, just to so when you look at it as a whole, hopefully in the end you won't see much in like voxels. So I want it to look as least like Minecraft as I can, basically. If you understand that way of speaking there, it's just basically I don't want it too choppy, but of course I got to get enough choppiness in there to add some little subtle details and things like that. So that's kind of where I was at with this version here. So I actually meant to do a video yesterday, but I had a headache and I was really annoyed at my microphone, and I having issues and things like that. So I just decided to not do a video yesterday and do one today instead. But because of that, this is what I would have showed yesterday. Let's go to the next version. So the next version here, what I've been trying to do is figure out how to paint this, and I also did a little bit more block work too. Now this one I got all its turrets out and visible at the moment. A lot of these are retractable. Um, and don't mind this side. This is the bad side over there. I got to fix all that yet. It was the common symmetry thing where you paint something on one side and doesn't, you got to fix it up on the other side. So I don't have this fully textured or anything like that, and I'm experimenting. I'm not sure how I want to paint this yet. Now this is kind of like steering into the green side of things. Trying to be a little bit more like I don't know what the Klingon bird of prey probably would look like, at least the older school ones. And I don't know. I'm just kind of ad hocing this. It's been a little difficult to figure out how I want to paint this. I'm trying to blend in some other textures in here, but I want some more like surface detail with texturing and things like that. But if I go like with the really raunchy textures, um, well, like some of this stuff over here, or even if I try to do too much of this, I can't stand it because the lines will not line up, and I don't have like another texture really to blot that out. But I'm trying it with this texture. I haven't done it with this texture before, so like you can see, I've got like one of those textures there, and it's kind of like you have to look around to see where you can get like a full piece and then just use that one, and then you got to blank out the rest of them. But what I would have to do to make that work a little bit better is color match it a little bit better than I am right now. This is kind of preliminary. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with a bunch of stuff on the textures, and do I want to try to add in some brown or maybe some red or something else to highlight this as well. Also with the texture lights, I'm trying to figure out what color I should do those in. Right now I got them kind of set to a green in places, and I'm not sure on that. But yeah, keep in mind I only kind of like painted part of the top here. All this rest was not painted. It's just kind of its base color on this version. And I'm also experimenting, like if I switch this over to a different color palette here, I can go over to this gray one. Um, so this is kind of getting rid of the green, but going more of a I don't know. Don't mind the red, or I'm sorry, the blue up here. That's I got to fix that color in this palette. But I kind of like it a little bit better in gray. I'm not a big fan of the green. I think is what my big issue is. But it does look appropriate, more appropriate for the Klingon bird of prey types of ships. So I don't know. I'm just kind of on the fence on how I should paint this thing. Let me move it back to this one here. Um, So there's another aspect too that kind of gets a little bit annoying. And like right now, I intended on painting this in a darker tone than what I am. Like even the shade of green, I kind of wanted it to look at least what I was seeing online with a lot of these birds of prey. They kind of look like they're painted in some kind of like olive military green kind of colors and things like that. So I'm trying to get to that kind of color shade, or sometimes or even a little bit more bolder green than that. But there is a side effect, and it's probably best shown on this. Like right now, when I'm in space, the lighting is not very good. And if I were to have this a darker tone, like let's say we make a modification here, and this is, I think, all here. Let me get the color tool here. This is all painted in this shade right now, which is pretty bright. But let's say I modify this shade. I wanted it a little darker, so we'll take the intensity or down. Let's say we take it down to about 54, which would be more of like a little bit medium to darker gray. It's not that dark though. Actually, let's take it just a bit darker. And and now, well, I guess this isn't so bad because the you can still see the polygons on the bottom of it, and the shaping and everything like that. But there is a threshold that I'm really close to here. And if I go down just a bit more, what happens is, and this isn't that dark of a shade here. Um, I guess you can still kind of see the polygons, but they're almost gone. It basically has to do with the brightness of your coloring, or of how you paint this. Like if you go a little bit too dark, even to this like medium tone gray over here, uh, what happens is the entire underside is no longer like visible. It all turns dark in space, at least. On the planet side, it doesn't look wonderful either, though. I took this, I flew this down on the planet for a little bit and was kind of messing with that. But basically, you lose all your detail if you go with anything that's not on the upper side of brightness, on the creation. And of course, I was kind of intending on coloring this a little bit darker originally, but I hate this effect. I really hate this effect. It had to do with that lighting change in the game, I think, a little while back. And it really screws with a lot of things. Like over here, like these, here's the MCR in 258, or MCR in general, has the same effect where you no longer can like see any of the detail or anything going on, like on these creations, especially on the dark side in space. It just turns all to like pretty much jet black, and I hate that. I hate that it does that. I wish there was more ambient light out here or something like that. But I've been noticing that in game too. So it's not just this zone I'm in. It seems to be in every space zone that I've been flying around in, that everything just gets super dark, where there's no like ambient light or reflection lights or anything going on, and you can't see any detail. You just lost it all. Now all you can see is the outline of what's going on. So what I'm trying to do when I'm painting this thing is to paint it in brighter colors, but I don't really like the colors I'm painting it in, which is kind of another side effect because I kind of wanted it darker and meaner looking. Right now it kind of looks like a turtle, and well, not really a turtle. I just mean I'm talking the color tones. Like I'm trying to have this to have an intensity bright enough so you can see the polygon work on the bottom side of it. And if I don't do that, you won't see any of this, typically, unless it'll just look better if it was brighter toned. I think. I even like the areas that I'm trying to paint a little bit darker in here, and this isn't real dark. This is just this shade of green, which is not bad, but again, the it just blacks it all out in the game, so you can't see anything that's going on anymore. And that kind of bugs me. So I've been kind of on the fence on how I should paint this thing, and it's been getting a little bit on the annoying side here. Um, so yeah, yeah, that was another issue that I had yesterday too. I was trying to figure out how to paint it, and the video, and it was like every time I try to paint it colors that I would want to paint it in, it looks utterly terrible. At least from the bottom side or any side that's not in direct sunlight, you can't see it anymore. and it just I don't know, been driving me nuts. On this one too, I just kind of briefly started trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the back end of it. Um, so in the last video as well too, I asked about, should it have a hangar, should it have a farm, things like that, and for the most part, everybody said no. I don't think there was too many people that wanted it. There's a couple suggested maybe like a really small landing port or something like that. Um, so I'm cool with that. It's going to allow me to make the back end of the ship a little bit more shapely. But I just got to figure out what that shape's going to be yet. I'm just kind of experimenting on how I'm going to um, close off the back of the ship here. And right now I'm kind of looking at this, trying to do some kind of another large roundy thing back over here. Now I've got some details to work out on the ship as well, like how is it going to land? That's a bit of a problem right now. My idea here I would have to modify this a little bit more and put in some landing gear on these wingtips, which is fine, but that's pretty low. It's a lot lower than where. Oh, sorry. I wish there was a medium speed in between like super fast scrolling speed and um, the normal movement speed. If you hold down Control and Shift at the same time, you whiz really fast when you're in God mode. But if you just hold down Shift, you go at this speed, which isn't very fast. And the difference between the two is extraordinary. Like there's one and there's the other, and there's nothing in between that. So I tend to jerk the camera around because I use that super fast speed, and it's so much different than the speed below that it can probably give you nausea. But um, so yeah, on this one here, my idea, I guess, would be to try to get some landing gear there, but there's no way I could put landing gear up in here because this is like 3, 4 blocks above where the landing gear would be down over on the wingtips. So the other idea would be to try to dump some other landing gear over here somehow, which I think would look kind of dumb, but I don't know what else to do with it, honestly. And I didn't really, I mean, if I try to build this area out and have it come down far enough to put landing gear down there, it would have to come down a long way. We're talking several blocks, and it would look really stupid. So that's kind of an issue. How do I get this thing to land correctly? One other idea would be to have something kind of up front. I'd have to probably get rid of this turret if I tried it, and have a landing gear that didn't come down quite as far. Maybe it would come down to about where the height of this turret is. Um, and then it would land at an angle, so the it would kind of like be like a hot rod, like you got big back tires and the front of the cars like, you know, leaning forward a little bit like that. That's another idea that does work. I just don't know if it's going to work. It would again, it would screw up the turrets because I can't have the landing gear, especially if I had one come down to this height, basically cancel both of these turrets. This one won't be able to shoot. I assume even if the landing gear is retracted, it would still count as it's not retracted, just like blast doors or anything else. And then the turret couldn't shoot because it would have a landing gear in its way. So that's probably would be a problem. So that is one of the issues I got to work out. The other issue is how in the heck do you get in and out of the ship? Of course, I usually like to have some kind of like lower door to pick you up, but and yeah, I'm sure I could figure something out. I don't need this turret over in the middle here. Maybe I could move a couple turrets over there and have some kind of back door that you can get into that way. Of course, I do want to have some kind of quick in and out of the at least the secure bridge in the ship, which will probably be mounted back somewhere in this journal section, kind of past the neck and into the more larger part of the body. And then, of course, it would have like a first-person cockpit as well. Could have a door that gets you in and out of there, like maybe in this location here, which would be pretty easy to do. Um, so beyond that, too, I mean, those are things I just got to figure out, and I'll keep on messing with like how to get in and out of the ship, how it's going to try to land, things like that. It's I wanted to hang these parts down more because if you look at like these Klingon bird of prey from the side profile, not that I'm exactly hitting it exactly over here, but they do have some of these elements, where this part usually does hang down quite a bit. and it's just kind of got that, that bulkier back thing where it kind of builds up a lot there, and then you got kind of a thinner neck, and things like that. So I don't know. I've been messing with a lot of stuff, but I do have one other question for you too. Okay, so well, let's take a look at the numbers right now. With the two XL thrusters per direction, and a fusion reactor, and I do have it's got 26 I'm sorry, it's got 21 turrets on here, turret positions. So I don't mind what they are right now. They're just placeholders, and it has 10 launcher positions. I do have all those installed right now, and a fusion reactor plus all the XL thrusters, and that puts the CPU at uh, a little under 2.6 million CPU. Um, what I'm trying to do, I was kind of experimenting with the idea of, could I make this ship at least spawnable and flyable and kind of workable at 2.1 million CPU because of the cuts of the thrusters and things like that. Would that be a viable thing? Um, but it's still rough. It's still really rough because on this ship I do want to put in a fusion reactor. I could try to make a dual mount area where I put in like the 2x2x6 generators. Probably need two of those, which would equal 300,000 CPU, where this is only 400,000 CPU. Technically that's only 100,000 CPU less if I went that route. Um, but maybe I'll try to customize the room so you could put in the larger generators, and would also make it more compatible with vanilla in the end as well, or easier to do. Um, but yeah, I just keep on thinking, hey, is there any way I could possibly have this CPU compliant, but equipped well enough so you can kind of use it right off the gates and fly it around and stuff? And it's like maybe possible, but not really. Um, Taking a look at the numbers here too. Um, each Now these are placeholders again, but each one of these artillery cannons are, I think, 60,000 CPU. There's 10 of those, so that's 600,000 CPU in this, and then we've got some more over here. Even if I removed all of those, um, and reduce, say, took another 100,000 off for putting in a different kind of generator, that would only be 700,000 CPU, and then that ain't gonna help me hit 2.1 million. It's just not gonna do it. Another option would be to remove two of the strafing thrusters. It's about the only thrusters I can remove legitimately and not cause a big issue. Like if I took out the two over here, that is another 220,000 CPU. Um, but it's not enough. It's not enough to get it down to where it needs to go. So it's I'm starting to kind of rule that out, as in trying to make this lower CPU and trying to hit this target. And keep in mind, any of these configurations, that is without a shield and without a warp drive and without any other CPU using parts. And basically, even if I stripped all the turrets, all the launchers, took out these extra thrusters, put in the other generators, I still can't hit 2.1 million CPU. Not if I wanted a shield or a warp drive or anything else in the ship. So I think I'm gonna have to roll it out again. The numbers are too strict. Maybe it's the cost of these XL thrusters is just too much to ever do that kind of thing. If you use these thrusters, you're pretty much going to be locked into you needing a quantum core, I guess. One other option would be to try to downsize some of the thrusters, but I can't really do that. They're physically a different size. I can't mount them right if I downsize them. It's gonna be horrible looking. So it just kind of puts you in a bad situation with the CPU again. And it was like, man, how do you even try to make any kind of ship? Well, obviously you can, especially if you use smaller thrusters, but um, how do you make any kind of ship like this try to be CPU compliant is beyond me. It's too strict. The parts cost too much. It just I don't know. It seems like it's too low for this kind of ship at least. I mean, obviously you can build 2.1 million CPU ships, but in the combat role, nah, well, high speed combat role. Like I want this thing to be pretty fast. I don't think so. I don't think you can pull that off very well, or at least I can't figure out how to on this ship. Um, so I think I'm gonna have to scrap the idea of going to 2.1 million CPU again. Although I was kind of exploring the idea of maybe I could pull that off, but still can't. Still can't. Just things cost too much to ever really do that. So I guess I'll probably not have this version that way, but we'll see what shakes for vanilla. Maybe there'll be some. Well, vanilla doesn't carry. See, the vanilla you get 10 million CPU, which is way more than you get in Reforged Eden. So you won't need all that stuff, but you also couldn't put in any of the newer parts. It's just a weird. It's a weird time to build for the game. It's kind of I like it because Reforged Eden is obviously kind of where I've been targeting everything on, or caring about because that's where all the new content, all the new stuff is. Vanilla really hasn't done much of anything for quite a long time now. But Reforged Eden's really been busy with a lot of stuff, or Project Eden as well. So yeah, I don't know. I've been confused about the whole CPU thing on which way I should go with it, and I think I just kind of showing you the situation. I can't come up with any plausible means of getting this down to 2.1 million CPU and have it even remotely close to functionable, where it could do anything at all really. And that's kind of that's a problem. So I'm probably gonna have to abandon that idea unless someone else has another thought on it. I'm just curious to hear the comments. Also, okay, so shield gurus, talking to you guys. How would you configure this ship? Okay, now granted, it's intended to be up to do pretty easily max speed in all directions. It's primarily going to be a space fighter. I don't think this is going to have much value on the planet side. Um, how would you configure this thing with shields? Now, basically, the idea is I could set up all the internal shielding and pieces like that, and it doesn't have to come stock with them all. I could simply just have uh, remove some and have you put them in place, after the fact if we wanted to lower the CPU down some more. But I mean, in optimal setup for getting, for the type of ship that this would be, again, kind of a hit and run style. I want it to get in, be able to do hopefully a bunch of damage pretty quickly, and then get into a safe zone, let the shield recharge again, rinse and repeat is the idea of this. It's not going to be like this some crazy where it's got like 20 layers of xenoblocks on the front of it or anything like that. It's going to be more for high speed combat. Um, I mean, I guess how would you configure a ship like this with shield parts? Um, Obviously, if I run the fusion core, I'm going to get 200 shield recharge from that, which is great. Um, but should I try to configure it similar to that of the Proxima with the medium-sized shields and having some being banks and the other set being charged? Now you can run 4 each of those, but there's also in the shield area there's these bigger ones, and I can fit these in this one. Now these are also limited to 4 each, or I'm sorry, yeah, 4 each on these big ones. Now these obviously use a lot more CPU, and they like the charger does a lot more charging, but it also lowers the shield capacity by quite a bit. This ups the shield capacity by quite a bit, but really kills the charging. But you put God, yeah, but it would work out. I mean, if I try to put in some of these big ones, you think that's a good idea for this ship, or should I try to go for the medium ones? And I guess what I don't know for sure either is, is it like these shield parts you can get 4 of this type of any size or 4 of the other type of any size, or is it specific versus on the size? Like if I try to put in for instance, like 3 of these, and which are chargers, and then 3 of these, which are also chargers, that would equal, I guess, 6 chargers. Would that is that doable? Or are they separated where you could just run a whole set of these and a whole set of these, and then even a whole set of these real small ones over here? Um, and the small ones, I'm not too interested in this ship. It's they don't the numbers are too too small to really care about, and I don't really like the numbers either. Shield recharge 100, but shield capacity minus 2,500. That's not a very good deal there. Uh, I think all these, I guess, kind of hurt it a little bit, but at least the numbers are bigger. So I don't know. I'm just looking for any feedback on these things on how you think I ought to configure it. And it's not out of the question, too. If you also think I ought to restore the thrusters, get it again to 4 forward thrusts and 4 lift thrust, I can do that. I've got the room. I can actually got it. I could probably put in another lift thruster right in this general location. I might have to move a couple things around a little bit, and I could put in another forward thruster probably somewhere around this location. Um, but I don't know if it's going to need it, especially if I keep the hull weight light. Like if we take a look at our motion right now, well, it's going to get heavier than. Well, I don't know if it's going to get heavier than what it is right now. Actually, I have a feeling it's going to get a little bit lighter than what it is right now. Especially if I convert the wings to carbon, and if I do go through with the idea of converting the main body um, to steel instead of hardened steel. Those will both be weight reductions. Granted, I'll have to add a bunch of stuff for the interior, and the weight would go up that way, but it might counteract it by having the weight reduction overall. And then basically, I'm saying I could the way the ship operates, it can easily hit max speed in all directions. Even now, with the heavier blocks on here in the shield and the wings not converted to carbon substrate, it can still move pretty good. Um, and God, I think in that example there, I don't even think I had. Yeah, I even had these other thrusters out of here on that. Actually, let's just do an undo. I think we'll put them back. So yeah, you weren't even quite looking at the right numbers there either. So yeah, it's well, it says max speed 91.4, which is under 100. That doesn't make any sense because it does well over 100. Hold it. Well, it doesn't do well over 100. It can only do 100, but um, here and the HUD's on, and yeah, here's forward. Since I mean the thrusters are the same in all directions, it easily is hitting 100 in all 4 directions or all 6 directions. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to run all these things by you and see what you think. Also about the coloring. I mean, of course, I would kind of like to paint it a little bit more like a gunmetal, grayish kind of thing, but I want to get some accents in it, and it's it's Klingon, and I don't exactly know how to do it. I don't necessarily hate the green I got going on, but basically I got to keep it a pretty high intensity of colors, or I'm going to get that blackout on the bottom of the ship, which I like how the bottom of the ship looks, and I hate to like just make it so you can't see it anymore. And that was one of the things on what with the Proxima. Let me get that out here. That was one of the big things that I really liked about the ship is the fact that um, they are actually they're usually a white or gray ship anyway on these Star Trek ships, and the fact that because of the brighter colors, you were able to see this whole bottom area. But can you imagine if this thing was painted darker? It would look horrid. And that is, I wonder if there's any way I could quickly do this. Let's take down these shades here by, let's take it down into like about 44, how about 41? Say I wanted this ship uh, just to be a darker toned gray, um, like this. I wonder how that's going to turn out. I don't know if I went quite dark enough with it. I guess you can still see. Oh, I got different. I forgot to do the other set of colors here. I got to do these too. So we'll take you to, these were supposed to be the little bit darker ones. So let's go down to about 39 with this set. Uh, okay, but now look how much different it looks. You can no longer see like anything going on here, and it looks just lost like so much of the looks of the ship. It's kind of ridiculous, and I will have the same problem with this new ship I'm working on here too, or like any existing creations, same things going on. The lighting is just really brutally bad, I think. And Planet Side, it doesn't look much better either. It's just these darker tones just don't look good. It really sucks too because obviously like the Creel, MCRN, even the Scar to some extent, I bet was using darker shades. When I even do it with some of the human creations, like let's bring in one other ship to show you. How about Persis CV3 was kind of a mid-tone gray kind of ship. Um, Again, well, I guess this one you can kind of see a little bit going on, but it looks like there's one shade here that was bright enough to see, and the rest of it just all turns to black. And it annoys me that that happens, and I hate being forced to use like pastel colors or you can't see a creation correctly. That just kind of bugs me. So I don't know. What would you guys do about that? I mean, any thoughts on the matter? I mean, obviously, I think a ship like this would look better in the darker tones than what I'm doing, but you can obviously see the side effect to that and how much detail will be lost in the ship if it actually did that. I mean, primarily you're going to be seeing it in space more than probably planet side. I don't think this would really have much planet side function to it, but yeah, it's troubling. It's troubling to figure out what the heck to do about this. Anyway, well, with all that being said, just let me know your thoughts on various topics, issues, anything I didn't even cover, maybe cosmetic things, ideas that the ship could have. Also, if you have any good insight on what you think would be a good sealed configuration for this, obviously there's a lot of options. I do have room in the ship. I could run probably up to probably four of those big shield components, possibly six if I really pushed it. It doesn't need to have a lot of interior space back here. I'm not planning on putting in a farm or a hangar. It'll probably have a constructor or two in a small production area. The plan is to have at least two 320K ammo controllers in it, possibly a couple more 320K either ammo or just regular storage controllers as well. It's not going to have any form of harvesting going on here or anything like that. As an interior space, those parts are big, but if you can see though, I do got a pretty big area back here. It's got pretty tall ceilings. Um, it has room to put that stuff in there, and I'm not so worried about it because I wasn't trying to create a lot of interior spaces. It's not like I'm trying to figure out where to put the farm or things like that. Now, technically, though, with the amount of space it does have, it probably also could have a legitimate hangar in here. But of course, that would force a big hangar door to be put on the back of it and things like that. And I'd rather kind of go tuck it in a little bit and round it off and I'm trying to make this area thinner back here. So I'm trying to rework some of the blocks, but I got these thrusters coming way out here. So I got this barrier I got to work with. But then after that, I'm trying to like find ways to just kind of thin it up so it doesn't stick out so much. And I did look at the back of a lot of Klingon bird of preys. There's not much backsides. There's not a lot of pictures of the backsides of these, and probably especially on the earlier ones, because honestly, I don't think they look that wonderful from the back. I think the Klingon birds of prey in the shows, for the most part, their best look was looking at it from the front profile or like your top and down. They had a nice shape going that way, but the backside, they kind of like on a lot of these, they had the big wings. They kind of rounded it off back here like this, and I don't really want to do that. I kind of want to make this a little bit more aggressive looking than that. So, um, anyway, I'll shut up now. I know I can yip, yip, and yap for a long time, but just curious on your thoughts. And beyond that, you all have a great Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow for a look at the workshop. And uh, yeah, I haven't looked at the workshop like almost all week, so I'm going to be really surprised. So, anyway, you all have yourself a great Thursday. I will talk to you later.